So, hey, have you ever wondered if there's something that you should be aware of during your time here on Earth? So, why do we have the name that we have that's on our birth certificate? And the birth date. Why are we born on the birth date that we have? These elements, once calculated, provide a blueprint for you to navigate through life. Let's see what we can figure out about the soul contract. Hi, everybody. It's Lori from Numerology. Please like and subscribe. And please don't forget to click that bell icon, change it to all for your benefit. By the way, I am available to provide you with a numerology consultation. Let's see if we can figure out your blueprint. Hmm. Okay. Send me a note via my website, Lori Intuitive Numerologist, and that's LORIINtuitive Numerologist.com. That's Lori Intuitive Numerologist. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to share first with you a board that I put together for you. And this has soul contract. And that's the first thing that we're really going to talk about. And you can see where soul matches the number, the letters are calculated through the numbers that it matches to. This equals a 13.4 for soul. I looked that up. I'm trying to think if I wrote that down. No, I don't think I did. But here's the thing, guys. I looked up the word soul and the 13.4. And it's really not meant to be a punishment, 13.4. Even though it's karmic debt, we all have a little bit of karma, all of us. It might be in the letters that are missing in our name, or the letters that are seen too frequently, which is above and beyond what we should have for the number. And I can go over that another time. But it's interesting to think about that. So then, I mean, I'm going to tell you, when I first saw Soul that was a 13.4, I was like, oh my gosh, let me check that out. Let me do some research on that. So I did. Then I looked up the word contract. And interestingly enough, these are the letters that it corresponds to that I calculated together, and I got to a 31. So 3 plus 1 equals 4, as does the 13. So 1 plus 3 equals 4. So then 4 plus 4 equal 8. So soul contract is an 8. That's fascinating. Let's read. So, what do you think your soul blueprint or contract is? Is it a plan? Maybe. I've studied numbers and numerologies for years, and it truly is a soul plan to help decode your life or a soul contract. Interesting. When we do a numerology consultation, or when I do one, I mean all numerologists, we use your birth date and your birth name to calculate your destiny. Your birth name calculates your destiny number, your soul number, and your personality number. The birth date gives you the life path number. When we add them all together, when we add the life path rather and the destiny number, we get the maturity number, which is kind of it's in itself, it's a growth number. It's something that sort of applies later on in your life. And you'll understand that more as we talk about it. It's lots of information, but a blueprint should have that kind of informative energy. We'll always be able to calculate the pinnacles and challenges and see what is your ultimate purpose is. So, don't get me wrong, the pinnacles and challenges really don't go a long way towards giving you your life path, so to speak, but they will tell you the pinnacles and challenges tell you what you'll be going through. And I think we've done enough celebrity numerologies, and I will do more, but it really gives a guideline as to maybe what the first period of life looked like and what the second is looking like, what period you're in right now, what that looks like, what you're dealing with. And honestly, I've been a numerologist for years, guys, and I can tell you that it's pretty right on. When I look at this, it's very right on. It's taken me a little while to be able to communicate it correctly, because not everybody knows what I know in here, but I'm trying. So calculating a word uses, which is a little different than calculating the five core numbers, the pinnacles and challenges. Okay. So calculating a word uses all the letters in the word translated to the corresponding number. And I just so happen to have this from the last one. So this is the chart we use. 1 through 9, all of the letters are broken down. So you can see the three letters are associated with one, three letters that are associated with two, and so on. You can feel free to take a screenshot of this. It is in the reference videos on my channel, but feel free to take a screenshot. Okay. If you guys need more time with that, just let me know in a future video. I will make sure I have a board ready for you. Okay. So yeah, we talked about how the calculation of the letters translates to the corresponding numbers. The final number is kind of a destiny number for that word, if you will. So, which was so interesting to me about soul. It was, I, mm, I am getting chills just thinking about it. Let's look at soul, number 13-4. Okay, so here we are again, 13-4 for soul. I was so curious, and this is exactly what I wrote down. I was so curious about this word because it's a karmic number, and it is 13-4. And this is kind of what I told you earlier. I realize it's not considered a punishment, and we did talk about that, but it's more of a growth opportunity. So the soul comes into the world over and over again. As far as I know, I'm a believer in reincarnation. I don't know if you are. Let me know in the comments. But here we go. There's a 13-4. That's a karmic number. That is a growth number. It's not a punishment. It's an opportunity for you to grow as a person. That's what the soul gives you. Wow. Each time you come in, that's really fascinating. So, what is soul contract? So again, we talked about that briefly. Soul equals a 14 or a 13-4, and so does contract equals a 31-4, which is opposite. And then they both add up the 4 plus the 4 because these are the numbers that we calculated, and they come to an 8. Now, the interesting thing is, all right, let's see. I know I'm getting ahead, so let me just chill out here a second. So what's interesting about that number 8? This is specifically the number for contracts, for business. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting to me. For power and control. Oh gosh, that's so interesting. So I love the fact, first of all, that contracts is in the number. And 8 is just about, one of the definitions is contracts. So the fact that it's power and control tells me that you've got more power over your life than you thought you did. And it all comes down to being in touch with the universe, to being in touch and helping you to understand when you don't know something, ask and ye shall receive, right? Oh, I mean, I'm more of a spiritual person than I am a religious person. Some of you may be Christians, Buddhists, I don't know. I kind of buy into it all. Okay. So this really gives me a lot. It blows my mind that this is talking that the number 8 is talking about contracts, business, power, and control. Oh my gosh, did my mind go everywhere? How accurate numerology is. And I talked about this before. I really feel like it's a very accurate subject. So now keep in mind the symbol for 8 is this number right here, this 8. Look at it upside down. It's an 8. So it's a number for infinity. Infinity these are the numbers that are calculated for it, and they calculate to a 5-0. So the 5 is the destiny number for infinity. And you know what the 5 is about? It's about change. It's about freedom. It's about adventure, but on the biggest scale possible. Oh, it's so exciting. So exciting. Like, what a bunch of connections I just made here. Amazing. Yeah. Anyway, the infinity symbol. The number eight also represents karma. And I found that during my research. And I'm like, okay, I knew it represented karma, but I didn't know it was the only number that represented karma. Well, it is. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. All karma is in the missing numbers or the missing letters in your name, and they correspond to a number. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what specifically represents karma, the idea of karma, the number eight. So all soul energy has some karma, and we just went through this. If it isn't in the core numbers, and those are the numbers that we calculate, the destiny number, the soul number, the personality number, the life path number, the maturity number, it shows up in the numbers missing in your name. And typically, I have not, that doesn't mean that I've calculated everybody in the world, but I have not come across anybody who's missing anything. So, or not missing something. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but everybody's missing something. So it's just, it's like, it's a fascinating subject. It really is. Okay, so probably the most significant thing to me is that as we go through the life path or contract, life contract, soul contract, and if we are successful, we graduate to the next level. So let's say you're at the number one. You might go on to the number two. It may not be as consecutive as that. Like let's say you came to it may I don't know. I don't know. And we probably won't know until we're in another realm or the spirit guides come to us and let us know. But I'm not feeling like we repeat something unless we didn't get something right. And then we might have a fairly easy life with just a little bit of leftover from learning the two or something, you know? I don't know. I'm not sure how it goes, but it is something that I've been thinking about. So again, probably the most significant thing to me is that we go through the life path or contract, and if we are successful, we graduate to the next level. So there is growth. I mean, it's obvious. For most people, I would say 99 point whatever percent of people. There are some people, and we know who they are, but we're not going to talk about that today. Another trait of the eight, growth, growth, business growth. So if you're in a business to purify your soul, let's say that's what it is, you're doing the business of the eight. Wow. Mm. This gets really deep to me, really deep. In fact, I had to stop and I'll tell you one. So, is there a direct signature involved? Hmm, that's interesting to think about. I mean, we won't know because I would love to hear from somebody like what your thoughts are. Feel free to leave me comments down below. But so, okay, is there a direct signature? I'm not sure, but I do believe there is an agreement and knowledge of the contract ahead of time. I mean, this is something I've heard from psychics. I've heard this from other, other sources. Yeah, I do believe there's definitely an agreement. I remember reading the book called, I think it was the Celestine Prophecy, and they talked about a pre-birth agreement that you agreed to certain things before you came to this earth. I've heard that a lot of us haven't had an agreement. We wanted to come here and be here at this time of the earth. Why do you think that is? Maybe it allows us to really go through some karma a little bit quicker. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. So, is this a sort of business arrangement? We just talked about that. I think it might be. Maybe. I also heard from other psychics that there is a life review after death. Wow. I've seen it depicted on the big screen. And again, it all strikes to be truth. Why wouldn't you have a review so that you would know, okay, this is where I wavered, this is where I did better than I was supposed to, whatever that the case might be. Now, if you're part of a contracted work, okay, this is important. Wouldn't you expect to have a review at some point? When I worked for different companies, I always had a review of the work I did. And it always, either gave me more money, which to me is fulfilling the contract and it's moving on to the next level, or it maybe gave me a better title, that kind of thing. Sometimes it was just an even keel. That's it. This is what you did. Okay, that's good. Is this the way it is for us as souls? Interesting to think about. So I have to assume that because the process is for our highest good, all of this is done rightly, not incorrect or sinfully, or, it's done righteously, I guess is the correct word, and with our best interests at heart. That couldn't be it. So, in other words, it tells me that everything is done lovingly from the soul contract signed agreement, if you will, whatever that might be, and then through your life. So the love doesn't stop rather once we're born. No, we are loved from afar always. Wow. Mm. But it always has our best interests at heart. Always, always throughout our life, and then on to the review. So this gives us a lot to think about. I could go further, but there's a lot here. I really feel like there's a lot here, and I'll do more research and another video. So thank you so much for joining me, guys, and blessed be.